In the year 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail across the Atlantic, unaware that his fateful journey would forever change the course of history. His discovery of the Americas set off a chain of events that would see European powers, driven by greed and ambition, sail into the New World, determined to conquer and colonize. However, when Columbus and his crew arrived on the shores of what we now call the Bahamas, they weren't met with an empty, uninhabited land. Instead, they encountered thriving, sophisticated societies. The Taino people. On the mainland, further north, the Iroquois Confederacy, an alliance of powerful tribes, was already established, with political systems, diplomatic ties, and trade networks. To the west, the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas possessed advanced knowledge in architecture, agriculture, and engineering. Yet, these first meetings between Europeans and Native Americans, rather than being peaceful exchanges, quickly turned hostile as greed and misunderstanding clashed with indigenous ways of life. What if the indigenous nations, united in their resolve, had turned the tide of history and repelled the European invaders? What if they had successfully resisted colonization? What would America and the world look like today? Like and subscribe for more. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell for more history documentaries. Please watch the video till the end, as good interaction would help the performance of the video and the growth of my channel massively. A united front. The potential of Native American unity. The first question that arises is whether the Native American tribes would have been able to unite against the European settlers. In reality, the Americas were a vast continent with diverse tribes and nations, each with its own customs, languages, and politics. The idea of a single, unified resistance was unlikely because of these differences. However, if the native nations had been able to put aside their rivalries, the strength of their collective forces would have been formidable. The Iroquois Confederacy, for example, had already proven the effectiveness of a multi-tribal alliance. If this model were adopted across the continent, with the Plains Indians, the Pueblo peoples, the southeastern tribes, and the West Coast nations joining forces, they could have created a powerful network of resistance. Their knowledge of the land, tactical strategies, and mastery of guerrilla warfare would have made European armies unfamiliar with the dense forests, rugged terrains, and powerful indigenous armies ill-prepared. In many cases, the native forces were far more adept in combat than the early European settlers, who often relied on crude weapons and tactics unfamiliar with the environment. How would the Native Americans have defeated the Europeans? Without the devastating impact of diseases like smallpox, which wiped out entire populations of Native Americans, the indigenous nations would have had the upper hand in terms of manpower. A more coordinated resistance could have forced the Europeans to retreat, or perhaps even abandon their efforts of colonization. The Native Americans, with their advanced knowledge of the land and resources, could have adapted quickly to the Europeans' use of firearms. The natives had their own weapons, such as the bow and arrow, tomahawks, and later, the ability to craft their own firearms from captured European weapons. In terms of strategy, they were already experts in hit-and-run tactics and could have used the terrain to outflank and outwit the settlers. Moreover, by forming alliances with certain European nations, such as the French, who were often more willing to trade and ally with indigenous groups, the Native American nations could have used European rivalries to their advantage. The French, unlike the Spanish and English, were more interested in fur trading and had a relatively peaceful relationship with several native tribes. This strategic use of European divisions could have further weakened the settlers' position. The alternate future of America. Had the Native American nations successfully resisted European colonization, the entire landscape of North America would have been altered. The growth of the United States, as we know it, would have never occurred. Instead of the expansion of European settlements, there could have been thriving native civilizations that evolved and adapted over centuries, potentially creating their own forms of governance, trade, and culture. The lack of European colonization could have led to a native-led political entity, something entirely different from the colonial-driven United States. The development of cities, infrastructure, and government systems could have resembled the large, complex societies in Mesoamerica, such as the Aztecs or Mayans. We might have seen monumental architecture, sophisticated social systems, and vast trade networks across the continent. It's also possible that indigenous societies would have developed their own form of democracy, not dissimilar from the Iroquois Confederacy's Great Law of Peace, which inspired some of the ideas behind the U.S. Constitution. The idea of a confederation of nations, respecting individual sovereignty, but united under shared principles, could have become the foundation for a unique Native American federation. Industrial revolution and technological development. Would the Native American nations have gone through an industrial revolution similar to Europe's? It's possible. The introduction of European tools and technologies, combined with indigenous knowledge of natural resources, could have sparked innovations in agriculture, metallurgy, and engineering. However, without the constant interruption of colonization and exploitation, Native American societies may have taken their own, different path toward industrialization. In fact, many Native American tribes had already developed highly efficient systems for agriculture, governance, and technology. For instance, the ancestral Puebloans mastered the art of irrigation, allowing them to create thriving communities in arid regions. The Mississippian culture built complex cities, such as Cahokia, with massive earthen mounds and sophisticated urban planning. With time, these innovations could have evolved into a unique form of technological development, global relations, and trade. Had the Native American nations resisted colonization, they would likely have formed their own global relations, establishing trade routes and alliances with nations across the Atlantic and Pacific. Native nations might have traded goods like tobacco, furs, and agricultural products with European powers, while also trading in the reverse direction for European metal tools, cloth, and other commodities. In Asia, the Native Americans could have potentially established trade relations with the Chinese or the Japanese. The Silk Road, long a bridge between Europe and the East, could have extended across the Pacific, linking North America to the Old World. The indigenous peoples, with their expertise in natural resources and craftsmanship, could have played a crucial role in international trade. Conclusion: a world transformed. In the end, a successful resistance to European colonization by the Native American nations would have dramatically reshaped the world we know today. From politics and culture to technology and global trade, the indigenous peoples of North America could have created a civilization that was unique, rich in diversity, and deeply connected to the land. The indigenous resistance would have changed not only the fate of North America, but also the broader trajectory of world history. In this alternate reality, Native American nations could have been seen as equal players on the global stage, with their own powerful empires, rich traditions, and influence extending far beyond their borders. This thought experiment invites us to reflect on what might have been, a world where the indigenous peoples held their ground and shaped the future in their own image. It is a reminder that history is not set in stone, and the choices made in those early years had the power to alter the course of entire civilizations. Thanks for watching.